This Sunday is the last day in the month of January and the fourth Sunday after the Feast of the Epiphany. We are still continuing on with the idea of light, the idea that Christ brings God's light into the world during this dark time of the year. We are also following up on the themes from the past 2 weeks of Jesus calling the disciples and by extension calling us into deeper fellowship and further discipleship. But then we're also pivoting to a theme that we will start to explore in the next couple of weeks, and that's one of healing. So all three of those ideas will be at play in our worship this coming weekend. The idea of light will be most poignantly expressed in the organ music that begins the beginning and the end of the service. The voluntaries that frame the service are actually the beginning and end of one single composition, a setting of a chorale or a hymn tune by the pre-Bach composer Dietrich Buxtehude. Buxtehude was a big influence on Bach, and we can hear a lot of young Bach, the lessons that he learned from Buxtehude. Buxtehude was, by reputation, a really amazing improviser, fabulous service player, and also a pretty entertaining fellow in his personal life as well. And you can hear a lot of that joie de vivre, that life that he had, that spark in his compositions. So in the organ prelude and the postlude, it's a setting of this German chorale, Wie schön leuchtet, which is how brightly shines the morning star. And of course, that morning star being Jesus. So even though that tune isn't super familiar, you can actually find it in our hymnal at hymn number 496. And I invite you to turn in your hymnal to 496 and follow the melody along as you hear the organ play, and that might actually help guide as you listen to the music. The melody starts off with this very strong outlining of a major triad. And then after repeating that phrase, there's this sort of an amen sort of a cadence that happens. And then another repeated pair of phrases. And you'll hear Buxtehude play with that repetition, those little repeated phrases very playfully. And then this final phrase with this big descent down as God is coming into the world through Jesus Christ. So listen for that melody at both the prelude and the postlude, and I think you'll really enjoy hearing some of that light-filled music. We've been, during the season, during this month, we've been having a selection after the sermon, and that's been a way for us to provide some kind of musical commentary on the theme of the day. This week, we will actually have a solo sung by one of the singers, Daniel Spiota, and he'll be singing what is actually something from the hymnal. And this is poetry by W.H. Auden. It is in our hymnal. It's at hymn number 463 if you care to follow along. But it's a little bit of a different text and a different tune, so it's not something that we often choose to do with a congregation, but it makes a really elegant solo for a singer. And so it starts off, each of the verses starts off, He is the way, the truth, and the life. Of course, a quote from Jesus in John's Gospel. But typical of W.H. Auden, he has this very sensuous and surprising poetic imagery that comes through. He is the way. Follow him through the land of unlikeness, and you will see rare beasts and have unique adventures. He is the life. Love him in the world of the flesh, and at your marriage, all its occasions shall dance for joy. Again, really sensual and beautiful poetry, really involving all of our senses in experiencing the richness of Jesus Christ. And the music is by contemporary American composer David Hurd, and he matches this with a very sort of almost sultry piano bar kind of bluesy feel. The choir will also be singing John Rutter's God Be in My Head at the communion. That's one of the most popular pieces in the repertoire. We have some very familiar hymns. So we really hope that you will come and experience worship with us as we explore these themes of light, of discipleship, and of healing in our liturgy this weekend.